thank you for joining us here in BlockShow Asia in Singapore. Thank you so much. I know this is home, this is the ground to you, so thank you so much for having us here.
Yeah. It's a great honor to have you interview me, and I think it's not just my home. This is a very nice place to live in, but I consider the entire global world as my home.
Yes, yes.
And I think for the virtual world, there's something that is really interesting for us to cross-border,
Right.
and there's no limitation of what we could do.
We had a quick conversation off camera about financial inclusion, the pitfalls, the path that we need to take, and what we need and why do we need. Can you give me a little bit of background around financial inclusion?
Yeah, I think I was in the industry for 20 years before I decided to retire from the financial industry in 2012, and I was just fascinated by the fact that there are a lot of new businesses that has not been exploited.
Right.
And one of them is that about 70% of the people in ASEAN, out of the 600 million, 400 million people do not have formal bank accounts.
Right.
And they are in the shadow financial world that
Absolutely.
they have a 100% borrowing rate and so on. So I realized that China has actually successfully solved some of these problems with Ant Financial, which is the Alipay, and many other different tech companies that they have. They were leading the world for a long time, 10 to 15 years, without anyone knowing, until we started translating some of this literature to English
Right.
in 2013, and suddenly everybody wake up to the fact that, hey, we have all these companies that are serving 400 million and now probably a billion, as compared to PayPal.
Right.
It's 5 times more, you know. And then people started paying notice and say, how do we do e-financial inclusion? However, most of these are centralized e-financial inclusion.
Right.
So I have to continue to do research
Okay.
and find out actually how do you cross border? How do you actually bring the good part of the technology to reach a lot more people?
So we're looking at, so you're looking at opportunities in cross-border remittance for financial inclusion?
That's one area, because that is actually blockchain 1.0 payments.
Right.
Yeah. Then I came across blockchain 2.0, which is Ethereum, in 2014, even before Ethereum was live.
Right.
We have it in the university that they came to give talk about what they're doing.
Okay.
And they were trying to do finance initially, but then I was just saying that why not, think about something even broader, because tokenization is just not simply about payments.
It's not.
You could have identity, you could have membership, you could have a lot of other
real world
problems.
Day-to-day use case applications.
Yeah. So I was talking about that, and then now we are down to blockchain 3.0, which is a convergence of technology. Basically blockchain driving the fourth industrial revolution with AI, I call it ABCDE.
Okay.
AI which for A, and of course they have AR, VR, then B is blockchain, C is cloud and cybersecurity, D is data technology, E is environment-friendly technology. So with ABCDE we could do a lot, but we need to decentralize, we need to distribute trust. We need a decentralized network. That's where blockchain comes into the picture.
Do you think everything needs to be decentralized to be successful?
No, we need to have a good balance, because
Right.
a lot of things are centralized.
Right.
And being centralized sometimes is not a bad thing. Now, blockchain should think about how to complete whatever the government and the corporate cannot do. So this is the value of the blockchain industry.
Okay.
What can you complement the current system, which is imperfect? But if you try to mimic what the financial industry is doing, you try to mimic what the government is doing, then you're not going to achieve much, because there's no sustainability. They can do it better than you.
Right.
So as a blockchain company or cryptocurrency, or you're focusing on privacy protection, it is very important to think about what is the imperfection of this world.
Right.
What can I complete this system, and how can I serve the society? And this is where e-financial inclusion comes in, because there's a huge demand out there. And we have more than 100% handphone penetration in the emerging market in ASEAN.
Right.
Out of the 10 countries, 6 of them have got high handphone penetration. So with that, they may not have utilities, they may not have laboratories or toilets, you call it, but they have handphone and livestock. So we could actually use the handphone with the blockchain, with a new technology, to do things that the government and the corporate are not able to do, or not not profitable enough to do it.
Right.
So with blockchain, you can lower costs, but that's not enough. You need to have new business model
Exactly.
to be sustainable.
Exactly. It's
So-
cute to have the technology, but where's the true business model? There's so much that folks don't understand. There's so much that take to have a business, a true business. That's why there's HR. That's why there's marketing. That's why there's PR. That's why people understand it's just great technology. Actually, how are you going to use that in your business plan and can you be profitable? By the way.
So I mean, to be fair to the blockchain industry, it's still a very early stage. We're still a very early technology innovation cycle. But it's good to have this downturn for some of the cryptocurrency so that people refocus and say, what am I really doing? Am I just trying to do a stable coins? Can I do it better than a fiat stable coin? Am I just trying to do a security token? Can I do better than security? Am I doing the same thing as the securities are doing? If
Right.
you are, then
Why are you
can
going-
you do it better than them? Do you have better financial resources than them? The answer is no, you don't.
Right.
So rather than security token, you should be thinking about token security. And token security, by that I mean that you should tokenize any non-securitized asset that are not in the financial system. You bring them back because to have sustainable business, you need constantly to have more customer coming in. So
Right.
it's financial inclusion,
Right.
right? And you need to have new products, which means that product innovation. And product innovation means that you must not subject to current existing regulation.
Exactly.
And try to help the government
Right.
and try to help the corporate to lower the barrier so that they can adopt new regulation, so that regulation do not front run innovation. Neither does it lag behind, because lagging behind means that a lot of innocent people will be affected by a pump and dump and so
Yeah.
on. So you have to help the regulators as an industry. You have to help the businesses and work together and become a very inclusive blockchain community.
And it's what I find interesting is, when you say regulators to certain people, they get offended or it's a negative in a certain respect. When, quite frankly, we spoke about protecting our freedom. And that's what the government should be doing, is protecting our freedom to engage in certain practices and making sure that no one's encroaching on our liberties.
Yes. So I think blockchain is a very interesting thing. Because blockchain can be off-chain centralized governance and then decentralized technology. So a government could actually design a lot of rules and legislation for governance. But usually you need compliance.
Right.
And you can never be sure people actually comply or not. And that's where the problem is.
That's
but blockchain, you can actually autonomize governance. So blockchain is actually a coded governance. So that it's transparent to anyone with a good intention to have regulation, to have ethics, to have justice,
Right.
to be coded. And smart contract is executable governance. So the governance is being executed. So unlike a case where you have a set of rules and regulation, but the financial institutions may find ways to bypass it.
Exactly.
And
Look what happened with the real estate market, right?
So we have seen 2008 and crisis in 1997 in Asia.
AAA
But
ratings on
blockchain
things. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Allowed the government, responsible government, because irresponsible government will not have the power or the execution power to enforce. But a responsible government will be able to enforce as well. So that is important to see that blockchain can actually partner the government to have centralized governance off-chain and decentralized governance and technology on-chain.
And what organizations have you created, founded, that are working with the different governments around the world?
I have invested in a company called ATech.
Okay.
What they do is that they give identity to refugees, and they have Singapore government, SG Innovate, and also Irish Enterprise as investor.
Okay.
So you can see that the government are very keen to invest in technology that can do good.
Absolutely.
And ATech is one of them to help the refugees and also to help a lot of international aid agencies. How often do we hear that, oh, I've donated $100, but I hear that only $10 go to the beneficiaries?
Yeah, if you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
It's $10,
Yeah.
like more like $4 from
So ATech will be able to help to have some transparency so that we really know whether a woman who's pregnant, who wants to go to the hospital to give birth in a refugee zone, receive the money and really go to another zone to give birth to the baby.
Fantastic.
And all the medical expenses of the baby, you can monitor so that it goes to the medical expenses for the baby, and they redone it on
I love that.
on the
I love
blockchain.
that.
So that is something that ATEC has done. The other use case that I've invested in is Sentinel chain.
Okay.
What they have done is that in Myanmar, when the farmers run into family problems, they have nothing else. They have no toilets, they have no water utilities, they have no electricity. They only have like solar power, their handphone, and livestock. And whenever the family have problem, they have to borrow money to buy the livestock because they sold away the cow.
Yeah.
And it's about 100% per year interest rate.
Interest.
So the reason being is that there's no proper collateral. So you could tokenize the cow because it's so expensive to form a company and own the cow.
Right.
So you tokenize the cow is a very efficient and cheap way of doing so. And once you tokenize the cow with the farmer's identity on it, with the vet certifying that the cow is in good health, and with the insurance company issuing an insurance certificate to say that, hey, I know where the cow is, I'm willing to insure it in case somebody eat it, cooked it, then the P2P lending comes in and say that, or micro lending company say, hey, now I have a collateral. So I'm willing to lend it because my risk is lower and lower rate.
Can I get collateral on the? Can I get residuals on the milk produce too?
Yes. And then you don't have to own the whole cow.
Right.
You own 10%. And you have a calf. There's another token.
Right. Is that an addition? Is that the fork? Right.
So I think these are all new business models that we see, and it's happening in Asia a lot.
Yes, we see
Asia
this.
a lot because
Southeast
one of
Asia
the
a lot.
reasons is that culturally in Asia, somehow or other, relatively speaking, the trust in the government is slightly a little bit more. A little bit more. As in everywhere, not everybody will trust the government. There's no full trust. But relatively speaking,
that's a pretty
if you ask the young population, I think they trust the government in Asia a little bit more than in other countries because historically, I think many more countries in this area has actually a lot more benevolent government, and they have actually done things quite efficiently, and most of the policies to take care of people. So you're asking, is it everything should be decentralized? Yeah, we need to have a balance. We cannot have totally centralized in the virtual world because you can have an economy that's open. It's fine, but when in the virtual world you want to be open, you're subject to malicious attack.
Right.
And you do not know who they are.
Exactly.
So you need to protect yourself. And that's where decentralized technology is so important because it increases the cost of hacking. Imagine you have to find ways to hack something that it takes a lot more resources to do so. So I think there is a very important role of privacy protection and the protection of individual freedom using blockchain because we do not want the situation of Skynet happening.
Do
social
not start
scoring
with
is one
AI and Go and the learning that happened from that, and now that it's beat the previous versions of them 100 times, and then it cannot be beat right now.
Yes.
That's probably the scariest.
I think it's a very good
Simple.
example is that if I were a benevolent government, I have social scoring. The whole reason is that I want to ensure that my citizens are protected so that the malicious element, I will get rid of them.
Right.
But the question I want to ask is that how can you be sure that one day the malicious element do not take over the centralized system?
Yeah.
That is the scary part, which we keep watching in the movies. But how sure that we do not have a Skynet or Westworld or something?
I think it'll happen, and it'll happen if it happens. When it happens, we'll never know.
Yeah.
When we know, we'll find out that we've already been at, like the elections,
Yes.
right? We'll find out that what happened
After the fact.
that'll be our Skynet moment,
Yeah.
right? Well, it's just like the elections. We turned around and we said, what do you mean you've been telling us about hacking all this time? It affected us, and a reality star is now the president of the free world.
Yeah, this is why we always talk about what about ethics for AI. Yeah, but in blockchain it's different, right? It's coded governance.
It's different.
So it's transparent to what are the rules that are being coded.
Right.
It's transparent to everybody, and if you don't like it, you can fork it, and the government could revise it, and people can vote on it. But in the case of AI, it could be in a very concentrated, set of powers that we are not aware of.
Right. Are you a fan of decentralizing any AI?
Yes,
or AI?
I think AI has got its use as well, because now we have proof of work, we have proof of stake, but AI has also have a role to play. Why can't we decentralize, some of the consensus algorithms, so that we to ensure that every time there's a consensus, we do not have a concentration geographically, we have concentration on chain. So AI eventually will play a role in blockchain too.
I think we need some sort of role with AI and blockchain when they create efficiencies by creating new languages, right? That should be permission. We need to know when those decisions are being made to be more efficient, because they're circumventing us out of that. There's a whole language that we don't know and understand for them to get the end result, right? But we don't understand what was sacrificed, what was thought, what's the common. I have so many questions in that.
I think a lot of people are looking at the ethics of AI. I'm not so positive about it.
Right.
I rather that there's coded governance, and I think blockchain can play a very major role in driving the fourth industrial revolution, together with AI, with big data, AR, VR, with drones, with cloud, with cybersecurity, with especially environment-friendly technology. Because there's no point of us talking about industrial revolution where we have flooding, we have pollution of the air, like what California is happening.
We have plastic instead of an ocean.
And it's so simple, right? It's A, B, C, D, E. It's so basic. We have to start with the basic of A, B, C, D, E.
I think that there's a way to get a couple of the same guys on the same page, and blockchain may be the underpinning technology to do so. And David, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom with us.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
No,
all the way from New York.
Right?